Welcome back everybody, it's Kydro, and in this video I want to give you guys an overview of how Zani works, while also discussing if Zani really needs Phoebe or not, because Spectral Rover might be actually just enough for her. I will also talk a little bit about Ciaccona and Zani, because this is one team that nobody really talks about right now. But before we get into this, let's jump into the basics of how does Zani work. And while her kit was actually so confusing to read, I will try to explain this in the most simple way as possible. So I hope you guys enjoy. Zani is a Spectro main DPS, she uses the Gauntlet weapon, and she will need Spectro Frazzler pliers to actually get the most out of her. She is probably one of the first characters that needs certain other characters to work properly. Now you could compare this issue to Yinshi, because Yinshi also needed coordinated attackers to fill up her forte. You could do some comparisons here. Well, first of all, Zani attacks with her shield. She has a skill that can actually block damage completely. It's similar to Tauchi. You can block another attack if you want to. This block also has another effect, because it will also charge up her forte, which we get into in a bit. But first of all, let's talk about the liberation. She of course has like this Super Saiyan transformation right there, where she gets different hair and a different outfit, and she starts swinging around with a huge heavy weapon. In this animation, you actually see the finisher of this ult. Sadly, they are not showing the animation that you can do with the ult as well, which she has a different set of combos in this ultimate. And for this set of combos, you need Blaze, which is a forte mechanic that is in her kit that only charges up with Frazzle or her skill. She can actually charge up her own forte, yes, but it is not the most efficient way to charge it up. We're gonna get into this whole in more detail, more specific, but just getting over with the kit first. She actually has two forte mechanics pretty much. She has redundant energy, and she has Blaze. Redundant energy is quite more simpler. She's getting redundant energy by just doing normal attacks, by doing skills, pretty much everything that she has in her kit. So she can charge this whole thing up by herself. And when you have full redundant energy, she can get pretty much an enhanced skill that does more damage. And it maybe sounds more complicated than it is, but in reality, you just charge the forte up and then it pops up on the UI. And when it lights up, you just press the skill. Make sure though that you block an attack, because otherwise she's not getting the full buff out of it, okay? There is a requirement for this skill that you get a 20% Spectral Frazzle buff out of it, only if you parry. So you need to parry an attack, and then she will get pretty much all the buffs or utilities out of this skill. And this skill also gives her Blaze. As I said, she has redundant energy, but she also has Blaze. So don't confuse these two. We can say redundant energy is not that important, but it will actually help her build up Blaze. And Blaze is the big important thing in her kit. Let's keep going a little bit more. If we see her intro skill there, just a small little attack there. She does a cool animation. And she also has this outro skill, and this one actually matters a lot. While you cannot really see the outro animation itself, I think it's just a damage explosion, so yeah, we cannot really see anything that she's doing. But that one is actually quite important, and I will tell you also why. Now, since I explained how she pretty much works, I know it's a very rough overview, but I'm trying to do this in the most simplistic way as possible. I wrote down some notes, and here we're also going to talk about the Phoebe issue, if you only care about that thing. But of course, first of all, I had to make sure that everyone understands watching this video how she works, so let's keep going. As I said, Zani is a Spectro main DPS, and her ult changes the way how she's scaling. That's very important. It's gonna start scaling off heavy attacks and Spectro Frazzle damage, but only during her ult when she goes into the Super Saiyan form. And one more time here, she needs other characters to apply Spectro Frazzle for her to actually help her build up Blaze. Now it's getting a bit more confusing, but I will not use the normal terms here, because yeah, she actually uses the Frazzles to turn it into her own mechanic that's called heliacal embers, and she can stack up those embers up to 60, okay? Pretty much saying you can now stack up Frazzle to 60, but not really. You cannot stack up Frazzle to 60. You can stack up Zani stacks to 60. She just converts all the Frazzles that are applied into these embers. And these Zani stacks can stack up to 60. And these embers will also enhance her forte, turning it into a blaze. She has a maximum of 100 blaze that she can reach if you just do Frazzles and use her skill. So every Frazzle will fill up her blaze, and the maximum blaze amount actually enhances to 150 in total in her ult. And she also gets 50 when she activates her ult. And since I said she needs embers to fill up her blaze, she only needs 20 embers, pretty much 20 Frazzles, if you just want to simplify it a bit, to fill up her blaze to maximum. Now, why would you want to reach 60 then even? If she fills up the blaze completely by already getting only 20 of these embers. Here comes the outro, and her outro needs those stacks to do more damage, meaning the more stacks you have, the more damage you will do with her outro skill. That's why you should maybe get to 60 if you want to. This one is scaling 600%. This outro is gonna hit like a truck. But of course, there's another thing who's also gonna hit like a truck. That's of course her liberation. And this liberation is so important because it might be the best damage source in her kit. The more blaze you have, the more attacks you can actually do during her Super Saiyan form. And as you can see it here, one of her combos during her ult spans 40 blaze. So of course that also means you at least should have 120 blaze when you enter her ult. Otherwise, you're gonna miss out on one attack. But there's another very important thing about her ult. When her blaze is lower than 30 during her ult, she can do this attack. Pretty much, you press the ult button again, and she will do this very cool animation. I hope I didn't confuse you too much already, but we are gonna keep going. Redundant energy is important because you need to fill this up to get more blaze. If you have full redundant energy, she can do enhanced skills, and with this enhanced skill, if you parry properly or block something, you get another 10 blaze, which will make it even easier to get the max amount of blaze, of course. So theoretically, it's possible to use Zani without a Frazzle applier, but it will take such a long time to get the blaze up just by these enhanced skills that is just not worth it. It's a waste of time. But if you want to, you could do it. I would just not recommend it because you're gonna lose a lot of damage, since most of her damage will most likely be her ult. And you need the blaze to do more attacks in her ult. So I hope that's clear. There's some other cool buffs that she gets. She also gets another 20% Spectral Frazzle damage buff from blocking something with her skill. And that pretty much summarizes how she functions. So what is the problem now with Phoebe? Phoebe problem is because Phoebe has an insane outro buff. She has 100% Spectral Frazzle buff in her outro. So for the whole freaking team, that's a 30-second outro if I remember correctly. And a lot of people think now that we need this 100% Spectral Frazzle buff, since I said she scales off Spectral Frazzle, that she needs that 100% damage increase. But I think we are all approaching this with the wrong mindset, okay? Yes, it's gonna mean Phoebe is gonna be probably the best teammate for her. It's gonna make her so much better. Zani is gonna do bombastic damage with Phoebe, but it just will come down to how much she actually does damage-wise without Phoebe. And that's one thing we have to find out by testing her when she comes out tomorrow. This whole problem does not really exist right now. It could be just that Zani is gonna be completely broken with Phoebe, and Zani with just Spectral Rover might be good. You know what I mean? So far, Kuro Games has not released a character that is weak without another one. I doubt that Phoebe is going to be completely necessary. Will she make her better? Yes, but we have to see how much, right? If she actually does enough damage with just having Spectral Rover in the team. And yes, Spectral Rover is a worse Spectral Frazzle applier. We have to keep this in mind as well. And I think that a Zani team with Spectral Rover will do completely fine. And you can just put like a healer into the team, like Shorekeeper, Verena, whatever you like. But I think like a Spectral Rover will do enough, while it maybe will take longer to get the Frazzles up, and maybe the damage output would be lower. I think it would be still completely fine damage-wise. But of course, we will see that when she's out and we actually got to do the testing. And it all comes down to if Zani is going to do enough damage to clear all the content in the game just with Spectral Rover, or if Phoebe is the necessary part in the team that actually enables Zani so much that she's capable of it. But with every character released so far, the characters themselves did enough damage and it was not necessary to put all the min-maxing as possible into each character. So I'm not worried at all. And I also wrote a bit down here that is for people that care about it. I said advanced things. I will also talk about this quite briefly. She has timed attacks that in her basic combo do certain other things. I don't know if it's enhanced attacks, but I think so. Spectral Rover has something quite similar, where if you hold the button after the combo with her normal attacks, she can do another attack or an enhanced attack. I think it's going to be quite similar to this, but this is again for advanced players that care about this kind of stuff. She also has a signature weapon that will buff up the frazzle damage by 50%, so it's definitely gonna be worth it. If you want to get the max out of Zani, you should get the signature weapon, of course, but then you also have Phoebe's weapon. That one also buffs frazzle damage. If you want the maximum out of Zani, again, there is another weapon that you should get to get maximum Zani damage output. And one thing that nobody's talking about, because everybody's focusing on Phoebe and Zani right now, Ciaccona is coming. In the live stream, they actually showed an Arrow Rover, Zani, and Ciaccona team. And I am pretty sure this team is also going to be another team that's going to work well with Zani. Ciaccona can actually apply negative statuses in her liberation. I think this is her liberation. But when you swap Ciaccona out and you intro into a different character, Ciaccona keeps applying negative statuses, meaning she keeps applying Spectral Frazzle if you want her to. I will jump into this thing again, because you can actually choose which negative status you want to apply. She can apply either Spectral Frazzle, and she can also apply Erosion, so you can pretty much choose. I also said this, that Ciaccona might be the comfy team member for Zani, because then you can on-field Zani more, and you're actually not that dependent anymore on other Spectral applier. So this is gonna be huge, I think. So when she starts dancing and you swap her out, she just keeps applying frazzles, and that's amazing. But we have to look forward to this, how this is actually gonna work, how much does she apply. It might be not that efficient, but I do think that this might be another good team for her. That's going to be quite exciting to find out how this team is going to work. So don't be sad if you don't have Phoebe, but you're planning to get Ciaccona, because this team is actually in the live stream. So it might be a pretty good pick as well. All right, this pretty much covers everything I wanted to talk about. I hope I brought more clarity to this subject. Let me know, guys, what you guys think about this issue. Is Phoebe such a huge problem? Do you believe Zani is going to be useless without Phoebe? I appreciate you all for watching. Subscribe for more Wuthering Waves content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.